Welcome back to another edition of the Here We Go podcast. I am your host, Trent Gang. I've got with me Lowry. Lowry, how are we doing today?
Under the weather, but still kicking. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, the big talking point on all of social media for Pittsburgh Steelers football is quite honestly the most obvious thing is the fact that we still don't have a quarterback. We are sitting here today with no Aaron Rodgers, no Russell Wilson, no clue what the game plan is, but you know what? We got Mason Rudolph back. So I'm going to start there. What did you think about the Mason Rudolph signing?
Um, Honestly, not who I was hoping to see back. Um, I think at a point when they realized they weren't getting Fields, Wilson and Rodgers weren't signing as fast as they had hoped. They didn't know what to do, and nobody else was knocking on Mason's door. So, kumbaya.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been
Um,
the locker room I would have designed, but we'll see what happens.
yeah. I think one of the things that's interesting is, I mean, at least he does know, a lot of the same guys still. He knows a lot of the system. Sorry, I was trying to get myself up and running on X here. I couldn't get that one to go for some reason. So as I'm talking through this, I finally got that thing to work. But yeah, I think he at least he has an idea of like what is going on with this system. He's played with a lot of the guys on this team. Obviously, knows some of the guys on the offensive line. He's developed some type of a chemistry with George Pickens, which is big because actually Pickens was a bit quiet when Mason was in there, right? I mean, that was like one of the things that kind of kept him under control. Mason was not afraid to put the ball out there for George and just let him go get it. So I thought that was something that was probably a smart move. And for the deal, the money wasn't any type of an issue. I mean, he wasn't getting paid a ton anyway. So
Nope. But also, you brought up system. Just remember, we say it that, hey, he knows the system, but that just points out it's still Tomlin's system, even though he never played under Arthur Smith. So in theory, it should be a whole new system he comes back to, but
yeah,
it's not. It's the
yeah,
same: protect the ball at all cost, throw outside, don't throw into the middle of the field. So he still understands what's going to be required of the quarterback in that situation.
absolutely. So here's a question for you that's in the chat right now. So do you think the front office got into Cam's ear, which I don't know if you heard this or not, but Cameron Hayward basically told Aaron Rodgers should get off the pot essentially by saying either you want to be a Steeler or don't. Do you think they got in his ear to kind of make that comment, or do you think this is coming directly from Cam?
I think it's coming from Cam. I think it's not. I think the front office lets them kind of, especially people on Cam's level. Like if TJ was out there speaking, I'm sure they would let TJ say whatever. Cam was pretty open and honest last year when he was after, they called Russell Wilson. They talked to him or whatever, tried to convince him. I think this year, I think there's enough people in that locker room, and I go back to what Deshaun Elliott tweeted out when somebody first asked him about Rodgers, like, no, he can go retire. And I think that's kind of what Cam thinks too, and just Cam's not going to say that. So he's like, if you want to sign, sign. If you don't, don't. And I think that's kind of more him saying it. I don't think that's the front office, because I think they be like, hey, come here, talk him up, be nice. I think we would see that more of the message than as blunt as that was. I thought that was great because
That
I
was
think
fantastic.
I thought it was speaking more to Wilson than anybody. Like, hey, you want to be here, be here. If you don't, don't. Because I don't think the locker room on the defensive side would care for Rodgers right now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like Cam is obviously one of the faces of the franchise. Been that way for a long time. He's probably maybe the most respected guy in the entire locker room. I know TJ and Minka and those guys get like the name recognition a little more so than Cam, but like I think when Cam talks, everyone listens. So I found the comment quite interesting. I personally don't think that's coming from the front office because I still think this team is probably divided on who they wanted to be the quarterback this year anyway. I think you had some guys on the Fields camp. You probably have some guys in the Russ camp, and you probably do have one guy at least in Mike Tomlin who wants Aaron Rodgers to be here. I think that's kind of what it boils down to.
That's kind of how I felt too. Like, I think I wonder if Tomlin was ever all in on Fields or Wilson, if we'd be here. Like, I think the moment he thought Rodgers might be available, he's like, well, hold on, let's wait to see how this plays out before we overpay anybody. And Fields got well, no, this is the highs we're going to go for you. Fine, I'm leaving. Wilson, well, this is high, we're going to go for you. Okay, well, I want to see what else is out there. All because they're kind of, well, let's see what happens with Rodgers. Because I think Tomlin it's one of those guys that Tomlin's enamored with.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the whole wink after the timeout, like Aaron getting the guys to jump off sides. Like, I mean, like that whole thing, it plays out with basically any free agent looking at coming to Pittsburgh. There's always a Tomlin moment where like they share something on the sidelines. I mean, they play this stuff with DK as soon as DK got traded here, right? Like, I mean, he's got his guys. He knows who he wants. And I think Aaron is on that list. Like, at what point do you feel like the team should quit waiting for Aaron and kind of maybe if we don't feel like Cam Hayward was told this from the front office, when does the front office say, hey, man, we kind of need a decision here?
The moment Deshaun Elliott tweeted out, I don't want Aaron Rodgers, was the moment they should have moved on. If you ask me as a personal choice, that's where my level is. Like, they shouldn't have been ever interested in Aaron Rodgers after how dismantling he had of the Jets last year. You know, how horrible that ended up. He wanted his guy from OC to coach, got that. He wanted his wide receiver traded, he got that, and they still didn't move on. They still look bad. And we're still going to knock on his door. They should have moved on moment one. I think it was a mistake to allow Fields to walk. I thought last year they should have, before the season started last year, I would have given him a 2-year deal because I thought that was the biggest leverage they had. As soon as the season started, the better he did, the more money he was making as soon as he had free agency. We've already talked about that. And I think that continued. I think that definitely played out. So it's like, okay, well, now you got Wilson. You were never in the Sam Darnold world, and I'm glad because I think he would have saw ghosts if he came here. And so now it's like, okay, well, where do you turn? And like, I don't think Rodgers is the answer, despite what some experts are out there saying, oh, he'd be great with Tomlin. The moment George Pickens runs the wrong route, it's over. You know, I'd rather see them bring in Trey Lance and Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson and let those guys battle it out and see what happens. Mainly because I think the locker room would be cheap.
It would be cheap. So what about this? We obviously already have DK Metcalf. We already have George Pickens. That's two very strong personalities. Bring Aaron Rodgers into the fold of that. Like, could that be a recipe for disaster? Does that, like, maybe he brings enough clout where these guys kind of shut up and listen to a guy who's a Super Bowl champion, who is one of the best quarterbacks, of the last 15 years. I mean, he's been on that list for a long time.
So I'm not going to really bring Pickens into this because I don't know. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. I think Pickens is going to be Pickens the way we've seen it until I see otherwise. But DK was like this with Wilson, right? Like, he's able to play. He'll stay within the offense. It's not a matter of him getting his head in the game. It's him not, battling it like fisticuffs with another corner outside. So that's just going to be on DK. I don't think the quarterback really is going to add too much when you look at it between Wilson and Rodgers. Now, if you're looking at it from, if we end up, let's say we didn't get Mason and it was, now I can't remember the guy we got from Miami. Geez, why is his name escaping me? Like the third string quarterback that we already have.
Oh, Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, and a rookie draft pick, then I think DK and Pickens run roughshod over those three guys. Hopefully Mason controls it, but I think it doesn't. I don't think Aaron Rodgers adds any calmness to it. If anything, I see it more as an explosive because DK is not Devontae Adams. He's more Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
It's more, we're going to get more physicalness, more explosiveness out of him than more steady killer type.
Do you think that I think Mike Tomlin gets a lot of credit for the way that he handled the Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown stuff? Do you think there's still some of that left where he could keep a lot of these guys in check? Like Aaron Rodgers has pretty much demanded things be his way for a large part of his career, and I mean, in some ways, I think you could say it's deservedly so. But now that he's going into his 42nd year old age range here, and it feels like it's been 42nd years in the NFL. Like, do you think that he should still get some of this stuff, or should he, before coming here, if that ends up happening, should he be kind of like having a conversation with Tomlin, like, hey, this is, Tomlin's way. It's been that way for a long time. And, a lot of us as fans have wanted things to change, but Tomlin refuses. So, like, where does the fork meet the road there?
They have to have a conversation, because as much as they both like each other, Aaron Rodgers is the antithesis of exactly what Tomlin is the last 3 years. He's not going to sit back and play safety the whole time. He's going to see something in the middle. He's going to throw it there. And you can debate who released the story or who said what, as far as did Arthur Smith or Russell Wilson stop audibling and refuse to ever go back to that Cincinnati game plan. But Aaron Rodgers is not going to, they say, hey, you can't do that. It's not going to stop Aaron Rodgers. So rather Tomlin needs to understand that, or Aaron Rodgers needs to understand this is the situation he's getting into. So it would be a very interesting dynamic. That's why I was kind of surprised that, like, as soon as Fields kind of was into the Jets camp and signed, all of a sudden right before that happened, all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers' name started popping up everywhere to the Steelers. I was just like, no. I thought it was supposed to be Wilson or Fields. Where did we get this in here? And living in Chicago, seeing this, I'm like, all the complaints that I've heard from him and that team about how they never had wide receivers, and now we're gonna go after him. I'm like, yeah, we got DK and we got Pickens, but I've seen him still say he needs 5 wide receivers. If they would run 5 wide receivers out there, I've never seen him in a offense that we've seen for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Exactly what he says. Right,
that's what he's gonna want. But I feel like there's got to be some kind of a compromise between him and Tomlin. Both guys would have to relinquish a little bit of their control of what they're used to having in order for this thing to be kind of a perfect marriage, so to speak. Because I just don't see how in the world you could have Tomlin wanting it his way, you could have Aaron wanting it his way, and then you've got 2 really strong personalities on the outside. Like, right. This is Hard Knocks missed the deadline. It was not supposed to be last year. It should have been this year. This would have been the year for them to make a killing off of Hard Knocks.
Right. I will say this. I feel this is the Dante Hightower. This is Brandon Ayuk. This is Kyle Juszczyk all over again right now, which is we're being used, we're being talked to, we're being putting it up on that pedestal. Hey, the Steelers are interested. They're the number 1 guys. They're the top team to get them. But all it is just bait for him to try to get as much out of Minnesota as he can.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll sign – eventually he'll decide on a 1-year, maybe a 2-year deal with Minnesota, try to beat Green Bay, get the Super Bowl there, and call it a day.
I've not actually seen anything – I've seen nothing that says that Minnesota's really actually interested, though.
That's what I heard. I've heard a lot of it on Sirius XM.
That they think Minnesota's interested?
Yeah, they're basically saying that they think that it's him going to Minnesota or he retires. There's no reason why he goes to Giants or to Pittsburgh after what happened in the Jets, because all 3 of those teams, none of them are Super Bowl bound. So why would he want to put that, make his career go down another step, make him look worse? So it's like you look at the possibility, Minnesota would give him the best chance of getting to the Super Bowl than those three teams. If he goes to any of those three teams, are they going to a Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, I don't think the Giants should be even in consideration. I'm not even sure if they are in consideration for him, outside of being leverage to try to get his contract up. I If you get any resemblance of actual Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay and not what we've seen with the Jets last year, then there's some things that he's going to do that would fit the skill set guys that we have. Number one, he opens up the middle of the field, and that's something we haven't had since Ben retired. Tomlin does not like using the middle of the field. He's risk adverse. But if you have a guy like DK Metcalf that is a physical freak, and then you have a guy like George Pickens who has been evolving as a receiver, he's been getting better at his route running, trying to become more than just like the highlight reel guy. But think about how much Pat Freiermuth was open last year in the middle of the field and was not utilized because Russ couldn't even see him. How much was Calvin Austin running around wide open? But again, Russ couldn't see him, number one, because Calvin's tiny, but number two, because, Russ can't see over the offensive line. So, I mean.
And Tomlin dictates not throwing it to the middle of the field.
I think that's off the table with Aaron Rodgers, though. Russ never did throw to the middle of the field his whole career. He can't see there.
Yeah, not arguing that. I'm just saying that Wilson fit what Tomlin wants, which is what we were talking about earlier. You got Rodgers coming in, what happens? But we'll break it down. You had Devontae Adams, you had Garrett Wilson. Now he leaves that and he has DK and he has George Pickens. If you take the Steelers bias out of it, I'd say it breaks about even. The on a overall level, you probably put those at even level. They might.
Sure.
Devontae Adams, I think, would be the higher of the four, but then
by far the best route runner. I mean,
yeah, DK would be underneath him. Then I would say Garrett's probably a better route runner, more reliable, but Pickens has the more explosive plays, so you break even. Then Najee Harris versus Breece Hall. The offensive lines were both equally okay at best. You had Zach Conklin versus Freiermuth. That'd be your next bet, right? I just don't see the Steelers with that much greater talent that he's going to come here to where he can run like he did in Green Bay, where he had, 4 wide receivers out there and had an easy division to kind of pick apart for a while.
What if Pittsburgh tells him, what if Pittsburgh says, so beyond the two studs at receiver that we have right now, because, I think it's pretty easy to say if we keep Pickens and DK for the whole season together, they're probably top 5 or 6 pairing in the league. They got to be in that ballpark. What if they also look at him and say, hey, listen, there's some big name receivers that are still out there. If you sign here, we'll go get Amari Cooper to throw in there with him. Like, we're just going to go all in, give you the weapons that you want this year to try to make a real run at this thing. Cam Hayward's not getting any younger. TJ Watt's not getting any younger. Minkah Fitzpatrick's not getting any younger. Like, we've brought in a Darius Slay to try to make this team a more complete defense and upgrade the defense on that side of the ball. Eccles comes in as a guy that I think is probably going to compete with Beanie Bishop in the slot. Like, we're trying to make upgrades on the defense side of the ball. We've got a good foundation there. We need the quarterback that pushes over the top. Do you think he would come for that?
I think Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy that would say, you sign X, Y, and Z first, and then we'll talk. And that is exactly. They'll bring in Lazard again, or what's his name, Cobb.
Oh God, Cobb's coming back out of retirement.
Yeah,
for like the third time.
It would be something like that. Like, I think if they already had like Stephon Diggs, if they signed Stephon Diggs, and they signed the tackle the Cam Robinson, who was traded to the Vikings last year, who's a free agent, they signed him as their tackle. Then I think Aaron Rodgers might be like, okay, now I can see something, but I want a guarantee that when I come in, it's my offense that I'm going to call the plays and do this. So basically making Arthur Smith a figurehead. Then I think he signs.
Yeah.
I mean, I, for one, is not the biggest Arthur Smith fan, if you notice.
Yeah.
So that
would
really be a bad thing.
Yeah, would that be an argument even worth like going against? Because I'm not sure. Would I mean, I think the things that Aaron would do well, he probably has one of the best play action fakes ever in the NFL history. That dude would fit that side of the offense that Arthur Smith already wants to run really, really well. He plays well under center, has a tremendous cadence. As a Bears fan, you've got to see that a couple times a year for a long time. But then I think the other thing is he does get his ball out of his hand quick. So with a offensive line that I think will be better, and I say that, knowing that could get me in trouble because, know exactly what Mason McCormick's going to be next year. You hope he improves. And we have no clue what Broderick Jones is going to be on the left side.
But no either.
So, yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I really am not worried about him.
I'm worried about him until I see it. That's how I am with everybody. Until I see it, I worry about it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, we could have a better line. There could be things in place that make it seem like he could come, but there's also a couple things that he's going to have to think about too, is now he sees Lamar Jackson twice a year. Now he sees Burrow twice a year. Now he sees Myles Garrett, who wants to be traded out of Cleveland, twice a year. So he's not going back to the NFC North from 3 years ago where it was a couple defenses and all you had to do was put up a couple points against 4 of them and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
Green Bay kind of walked that division for a long time and he got out right before that entire division got good.
Yeah, I made the argument at one point, like, why would Aaron want to come to Pittsburgh if he can go to Minnesota? They have probably a better team right now, and it's a much easier path to get through the NFC than it is the AFC because you got all the good quarterbacks in the AFC, quite frankly. You're going to go through Mahomes first. You got to go through, offensively, you got to go through Burrow and the Bengals. You got to go through Josh Allen, especially. I think that team just got better, obviously. So, yeah, it's a much easier path in Minnesota.
Here's one thing that I'm going to add, right? Kind of goes against what I just said. And goes to the point, the whole Aaron Rodgers is me first guy. What if the reason why he's stalling on Pittsburgh is he says, I want assurances that if I come there, you are not drafting a quarterback while I'm there.
Fine, we'll send you to a 1-year deal.
But that's what I'm saying. What if he's waiting? He wants that, and Steelers like, well, no, because what happens if you go down? We need to be, the whole city is already still screaming we didn't have a succession plan for Ben.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he's like, I don't want a 1-year deal. I want a 2-year guaranteed $50 million contract with a thing that says you will not draft a quarterback while I'm here. Because I think that might be the reason why deters him from being in Minnesota is because he doesn't want to go
JJ's already there.
And he doesn't want to see after half a season if they're doing bad. Okay, well, now you got to get pulled and let's see what the rookie can do just to give him time. He doesn't want to go mentor or teach somebody. He just wants to go and be the guy, the man. He wants to be Aaron, Flippin, Rodgers out there, And what if that's the holdup? I mean, what if it's the
could be, but
ego stroke?
I don't see him getting that assurance from anybody, quite honestly, because you've already got the guy who's supposed to be the heir apparent in Minnesota right now with JJ McCarthy. You've got the Giants are absolutely going to draft somebody, not maybe this year. This would just give them a chance to probably look at a guy like Travis Hunter instead of going quarterback and maybe getting Shedeur Sanders. In Pittsburgh, they may not draft a guy this year. That's probably what the Mason Rudolph signing was for, was to maybe make it so if Aaron comes here, we don't need to draft a quarterback. We're already strapped on picks right now, especially after the DK trade.
Yep.
Do you want to throw away a pick in this draft? I don't know, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get to the other guy who's the free agent on the board. You've already talked about him, Russell
Trey
Wilson's.
Lance. Oh,
No, no. I don't think the Trey. Listen, is anybody actually knocking on Trey Lance's door at this point? Like, I've not heard a word from that guy. Like, he went from like trade everything. This guy is the franchise in San Francisco to never mind. We got Mr. Irrelevant, and we're just going to go ahead and bail on this dude, and no one else wants him.
Yep. That's why I keep making that joke, because it's like, why not do the same thing we just did with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? Bring in a guy that's, hey, we can give this guy a league minimum because nobody else is going for him. We don't have anybody else out there right now. I mean, we're about to talk about it. Russell Wilson is the only other name really out there that's a viable shot to get us a playoff win, in my opinion, right? And even that is depending on several things working out all season long. The health of the offensive line, the running back staying healthy, because right now we got two and a guy that for some reason is still on the roster. And,
yeah, it's a little puzzling.
Right. And I said it a while ago. I said, watch, they won't cut him because he's got pictures.
Oh, God.
So Wilson is, for some reason, they're not making that call. And I don't get it. Like, as soon as Fields kind of moved on, I would love to know what kind of, like, how bad the bridge is. Like, I don't think the bridge is on fire, but it has to be singed somewhere that they haven't mended it yet. Is
it that uncomfortable with him and Arthur Smith working together now at this point because of what Russell Wilson's team did with, basically throwing that shot at Arthur Smith, saying he refused to let Russ audible? Like, is that damage beyond repair? What do you think about that?
Well, I still go back to I don't know if I would say that. I know everybody says that came from Russ's camp, right? I think goes back to my own opinion, my own eyes watching that game and how that offensive looked, how great that offensive flowed, to looking like complete garbage every game after that. And I still go back to that quote that Tomlin had when he was asked, how great is it that you can prove that you can score against any team and put up all these points? I don't need to do that. We can still win it our way with grounding it out. And I'm like, what? And then they did that. They tried to ground it out the rest of the season. And so, report or not, I think something changed after that game. Rather the report came out, rather the offensive, philosophy changed, something happened. And that's what lit whatever bridge is up. But then maybe Steelers wanted Fields just a little more than they wanted Wilson. So they talked to him a little bit more. And they're like, hold on, we're really seeing what's out there first. And Wilson now is like, well, no, you guys didn't prefer me. You preferred him because you showed him this. So now I'm out. Or now I want you to step up a little bit. And Steelers are like, well, let's see what Aaron has. And now Wilson's like, wait, now I'm second fiddle to him, who's 42 years old.
Yeah.
And we're talking about people complain about Russell Wilson losing a step. Aaron Rodgers isn't exactly a spring chicken out there when he's running around.
No, I don't know. Here's the thing for me. If we heard so much early in the process that it was Justin Fields was plan A, Russell Wilson was plan B.
Mm-hmm.
If Russell Wilson was even remotely close to plan B, this thing should have been done.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is there a massive difference between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I mean, I think the big part of the slide was that, we ran into a lot of really good teams that were playoff teams going down the stretch. I mean, you hit a couple games against Baltimore, Kansas City, Eagles. Like, you played everybody who was contending for a Super Bowl all like in the same stretch outside of Buffalo. And that showed right there we were not there. We weren't ready as a team. And Russell Wilson was not the guy who was going to take us there. And that was apparent because he struggled, but with better weapons, and he's already got chemistry with DK, has chemistry with Pickens. started to develop some chemistry with Freiermuth. I mean, Freiermuth had a decent season last year, nothing spectacular, but I mean, 700 yards receiving out of a tight end is a good season. So
he looked a lot better after both Pickens and Freiermuth looked. Even Austin looked better when Wilson came in.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
What Fields gave us was a running threat. Wilson gave us a deep ball threat. Would have been great to put those two together because Fields has an incredible arm, but I still think the Steelers didn't want to let him fully go.
No.
Which goes to when you say, like, well, was Fields A, Wilson B? I wonder as soon as Rodgers' name got put out there that he might be gone, if it actually dropped down to Rodgers was A, Fields was B, Wilson's was C. And that's what's taken long, is that Fields is still, or Wilson's is still underneath somebody else for some unknown reason.
I
don't get it personally. I'm like, I understand there's people that just don't like Wilson. I wanted Fields to be the guy this year. I didn't want him last year.
Me too.
I wanted him to sit a year. This was the year I wanted Fields to show me everything he got, but that didn't happen. Now it's like, okay, out of all the people out there, I want to see Wilson. And you're not going to give me, it's Ayuk all over again.
I've said that.
Yeah, it's the Hightower situation. It's where Steelers are going to get played. They're going to wait around and then find out, and I'm going to go back to this team. And we're waiting around. And it's like, just they can't wait around if they're seriously, if this is all about winning it again for guys like Cam, for TJ, for Minka, who are old, which is what these 1 year, 2 year contracts seem to be. Signing a guy like Darius Slay is not signing him for a future run. It is signing him for this year, for a run at something this year. So waiting around for a quarterback that's not there, I don't get it. I don't. It's putting a square peg in a circle and hoping that it rolls down a hill.
Yeah. So outside of Aaron and Russ, I mean, I don't see any viable free agents. First of all, Jameis Winston is never. I would love to see Jameis Winston here just to see Mike Tomlin's head absolutely explode, because that would never happen. But I mean, I don't think that all the eggs are necessarily in the basket, because there's obviously the draft. I don't like the draft at all. Quarterback, I've been pretty open and obvious about that, and I get absolutely destroyed on there. But we're going to talk about some of those guys and see if they're viable fits for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'd like to start with the guy who's probably the most polarizing of this group. If you would have asked me like a couple months ago, I probably would have told you that was Shedeur Sanders. Now all of a sudden it's Jackson Dart for some reason. Like, his stock continues to go through the roof. How do you feel about Jackson Dart? This guy seems to be a guy that everybody keeps talking about in the first round. How do you think he fits this Steelers team? So let's say we miss on everybody in free agency, and then the team decides, we've got to draft somebody.
Well, I say we screwed up free agency then. That's the first and foremost thing. If we have to draft a quarterback to lead our team this year, we screwed up free agency, because we should have gone the younger route, like I tried to say from the get-go. So now all of a sudden we're hoping Mason Rudolph's the guy to get us a playoff win. And then we're drafting a quarterback first for some unknown reason, because we're not Sanders isn't going to be there. Cam Ward is not having an Aaron Rodgers type fall, so he's not going to be there. Right?
Yeah.
I don't see any other quarterback in this draft that I would be like, okay, well, I'll take him first. I'll find a reason to just no. If my running back Gentry's gone, if my the corners Will Johnson and Barden are gone, if Bouquet is gone, if Grant and Nolan are gone, all right, I'm trading back out of the first round. I'm trading down as far as I can go in the first, early into the second, picking up picks. I do not want a quarterback in the first round just to get another quarterback. And Dart, I think I said this to you a while ago in tweet. If you pick him in the 4th or 5th round, then his values in my head is great. Oh yeah, then I have no faith. Then I have faith in this guy to lead the team, because hey, you got him in the 4th, 5th round. He's a steal. In the first, I just don't see it. Same thing with is it Milrose? Is that the other one that was up
Jalen
there for?
Milroe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Milroe. He was the other one that was up there for a while with for the Steelers, with those two guys being mentioned in the first round, and I just don't see it.
I think I'm going to go on my little rant here for a minute because I've been tore apart on this forever. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it all out there. Jackson Dart sucks. I mean, like, he was a good college quarterback. He has some really good traits. Okay. Like, I think that kid is a phenomenal leader. I think he's a really, really tough kid. I think that he is somebody who, like, he excelled in a very particular offense, but he is not going to be a guy you want to start in the NFL his first, probably even his second season. Yes, this is it right here. Dart is in a gimmick offense. He is an RPO offense. It's a one-read offense. I've had people argue with me thousands of times, like, "Oh, they have full field reads. I heard this quarterback coach or this guy, blah blah blah." I don't care. Listen, if you listen to the majority of the people who watch film and evaluate film, guys who are former scouts, guys who are current scouts, like, this dude does not hit on most of the things that make a quarterback successful in the NFL. He's late with his reads. His throws in a one read offense, he's still late on his throws. Like, that is absolutely just frightening for me when you look at a quarterback. If you have one read and you don't hit that read on time and in rhythm, and it's because he's waiting to see them open, which means he also does not play with any anticipation unless he's throwing directly out to the sidelines on 5 yards or less. He plays really well with anticipation there. Outside of that, he has no anticipation on his throws whatsoever. His arm is okay. I've heard some people rate it better than average. I think it's average, but that's whatever. I'll agree to disagree with some of the people who are rating this stuff. His athletic ability is average. He's not going to be running around in the NFL because he's got Aaron Rodgers speed. He does not have Lamar Jackson speed. Like, he's not that kind of athlete. He's not Justin Fields. But I see a lot of the Justin Fields deficiencies in Jackson Dart, but Dart does not have the physical tools that Fields had to overcome it. Like, that's where I'm at with him. I've said he's a third round quarterback since day one. If this kid fell to the third round and you wanted to take a shot on him, I personally still wouldn't want him, but I could understand the team doing it because, like, there are some tools there that you could work with. And if he develops in a couple of years, maybe he becomes a starter in this league. I think he's a career backup. But I've been tore apart for days for my takes on this because the hype train behind Dart, that his agent is never going to get paid anywhere near the value he's brought to this kid in this draft process because I just don't think he's there. I talked to 3 people that were down at the Senior Bowl. They said he was one of the worst quarterbacks down there, and they didn't even have, like, the top guys there. Will Howard wasn't there. I mean, not that he's a top guy, but, you didn't have Cam Ward there. You didn't have Shadur Sanders down there. Tyler Show was there, or Tyler Shuck was there. He's one of the guys that, has kind of climbed up this thing as well. I just don't see Jackson Dart as a viable starter in this league. He's going to be a good backup for somebody, but I just don't see him being a viable starter. So that's kind of my rant on Jackson Dart. What about if Shadur Sanders falls? Because there's some people projecting this. I want to talk about it. If Shadur Sanders falls, do you have any interest in Shadur at 21?
I'm trading the pick to see it because at that point somebody's got to be falling all over themselves.
Oh, for sure.
And that's not because of the attitude that everybody was talking about after the combine. It's not because of what I've seen on the field from him. I don't know if I trust him at the NFL level to be without his shield, so to speak. I don't know what's going to happen when the wheels fall off in bad situations and he can't handle the moments like that, where he can't just simply be like, well, my dad's out in front of it. I can just kind of go to the locker room and be okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not knocking the kid. I just don't know enough. I haven't seen him have to do that to see if he can go out there and to do that in an AFC North football.
Yeah. I
And
think the player, I would be okay if they took him at 21. It's what comes along with Shedeur Sanders that's going to be a lot to take on, and they would have to be really, really certain that you're taking the player and not everything that comes along with him, because his dad is going to be. You're really drafting two guys. You're drafting Dion and you're drafting Shedeur at the same time, and what comes
Dion
along with
says.
that. Yeah. There's no way you can talk me into him not being a part of that. So. He's saying that obviously he knows the game. He's been in the NFL. He knows what's going to go on. So,
and I think Dion's going to do everything he can to make sure he goes to a big market team.
I think he wants to be in a big market too. I do. I think you're right about that for sure.
So I think if he for some unknown reason falls to Pittsburgh at that spot, I'm calling to see some team has to be like New York will want to come up from the second round to come get him. If they didn't draft a quarterback right there you go.
Yep. I agree with this. I think I personally, the more that we're going back, similar drama. I agree.
Yep. I agree with that.
The more that like free agency has played out and the closer we're getting to the draft, the more that I'm like starting to lean towards it's either going to be Kenneth Grant or they trade back in the first round to acquire a second round pick, because I don't remember the last time we've had 6 picks in an NFL draft. It's been a long time that we've had that few. The only reason I brought up Shedeur is I think, Cleveland and the Giants possibly could draft a quarterback. I mean, the Raiders, like, I don't think they would go that route, but maybe there's some thought there to do that. Now that Justin's in New York, I think it's the Jets. I think they're out. The Saints could be an option there. And then from there, it really falls off. Like there's no one else that's probably going to be drafting quarterback until you get down to Pittsburgh.
I think there'd be a lot of the draft capital you have to get up to the spots to pick him after the Saints for a team that would need him would be relatively high compared to what Pittsburgh would offer.
Yeah.
Like I could see the Giants trading their 2nd and 5th round pick for the Steelers' 1st round pick.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, because they could conceivably trade right back up to go get Shedeur if they wanted him. So,
now,
and that would be interesting to see if Pittsburgh would want to go that route, because you're basically the second pick of the second round. You don't have a first round pick at that point, and then there's some guys who probably fall in that area that they would like. That'd be interesting. I do think it's kind of feels to me like Kenneth Grant, or they're going to move down the board and try to acquire some capital.
When was the last time? When was the last time though the Steelers traded down in the first round? I think it's been a very, very long time.
It's been a while. I don't even remember the last time they've done it, to be perfectly honest with you.
And I will say this: if Grant and Barden are on that board and they take either one, I'll probably be okay. But I'll be miffed. I'd still be a little sad to see Barden not be drafted. I think that it's going to be similar in my head to when they traded up to get Jones. When I thought they were going to get Christian Gonzalez, I was like, oh, finally, we're going to get that lockdown, shutdown, stud number 1 corner. And now to see him there, it's like, oh. So I'm like, I really hope Grant works out, because, man, I don't want to miss on Barden either. So,
yeah.
Bardon, however you pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Barron. Are you talking about Jadon Barron? Yeah, I got you. He's gonna be a good corner. I think the Darius Slay signing really probably shows some confidence in Corey Trice, honestly. But I do think that he's right on this one. I think that the comp picks are really just setting up to go in on quarterback in 2026. It's going to be really too early to call probably who they would go after. But I would imagine that they're acquiring all this capital to try to get into the top 5. So, and there's gonna be a lot of really good players in this class. Nico, I never can say his name. I am a Nelville. I say his name. Nico from Tennessee. He's probably a guy who would probably be in that range. Yeah, Arch is right now probably the favorite to be the number 1 pick next year.
I'll say this: everybody's pointing out the Steelers are going to get all these the comp picks, right? And I liken it to everybody who said the Steelers have all this free agent money and are going to sign all these free agent guys and bring all this top end talent into the team. It's great to say it. It's great that we have these thoughts, but seldom does the Steelers end up playing out the way we see it play out. I would have loved to see that we get these picks, but I think I heard on the radio today that the 49ers have lost $340 million worth of players and only signed $41 million worth of players. So you want to talk about a team that can possibly, they're going to be able to trade up for Archie Manning if they want with all the comp picks that they're supposedly going to get. And for some reason, I still feel like they've signed better players than we did. I don't know why.
I don't know about that. DK goes pretty high on the list. I mean, they traded for him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like signing wise, though, is like we signed Slay. Like it's all 1-year deals. It's all 30-some-year-old guys.
Yeah.
And it just breaks my heart because it's like we don't have the quarterback to make that type of like if we signed Slay in Ben's last 2 seasons, right? Then I'd be all like, oh, this is a great signing. We have the people to go to the Super Bowl. We have a lockdown corner. I get it. Now I'm like, okay, so what's the point of signing him? He's gone in a year, and who's our quarterback? Who's our offense? I mean, we don't can the defense stop Cincinnati from putting up 45 points. My friend tweeted out, Bengals are all going to lose.
Our defense might be able to score 45 points against Cincinnati's defense.
Well, against the defense, yes. My friend,
their defense is going to suck.
My friend texted, he's like, Cincinnati's going to lose every game 45-42. I'm like, except against us, it would be 45-12. And he's like, well, Boz will be getting 18 from field goals. I'm like, no, Boz will throw the 2 touchdowns and then miss the 2-point conversions. That's where this team is right now, is needing Boswell to be the quarterback. We need Randall L to be the quarterback.
What about some of the quarterbacks later in this draft? So let's see if this team ends up waiting and then still drafts a quarterback. Who are some guys later in the draft that you like?
Well, just because you get them later, that's where my head comes in, right? Like the guy from Louisville, Tyler Slow, was that his name?
Shuck. Yeah, Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, I think that's one of the guys. I think there's another guy out there from Houston that's like 6'6".
I've not looked into him yet. Somebody else brought him up the other day, and I've not really checked into him too much because he's not been talked about a whole lot. So I do need to look into him more.
Just simply because they're late round guys that before free agency, I was like, all right, these are the guys that I would draft to see what they have. Right? You take them in the 5th, 6th, 7th.
Tyler Shuck's being talked about as a 2nd-round pick now.
Is he?
He went from the 7th round, and then in the Senior Bowl, his stock started climbing a bit. He was around the 4th or 5th round, and now people are talking about him going in maybe the 2nd round. Some people are trying to say Pittsburgh should go get him in the 1st round, which I think is crazy. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's had, I think, 200 season-ending injuries, and I mean, he's been. If people were worried about Corey Trice and Peyton Wilson's injury history, like this dude probably has those two combined. He's got a ton of injuries.
I don't want, especially with not having that 2nd-round pick, I just don't want a quarterback in that 1st round unless it's a not a guaranteed, because I don't believe in that, but a stud. I'd rather see somebody in that 4th, 5th, 6th rounds that you're like, okay, I picked, but at least in my 1st round, I got the defensive lineman, the corner, the wide receiver, even an offensive guard. The same thing with the 3rd round pick, because you need to build that team. I don't think we're building a team. I feel like we're just trying to take a 6-shot revolver we found on the ground, and we're trying to hammer the bullets in there to get them to fit and hope to God it fires, And that's what we got. And we're like, where's the quarterback? Where's the firing pin? Let's just jam whatever we find into that spot because it's a name. Like that's
What
how I
about
feel with
like
Jackson Dart.
what about a guy like Will Howard?
I think we talked about him before, and once again, I like the guy in the third, fourth, or fifth round. I liked him better in the third round when we had a second round pick. But
Yeah.
I'm before anybody gets mad, I'm fine giving up the second for DK. I'm not saying I want the pick back. I'm just saying I don't want to then draft the quarterback in the third unless I know we have people. We need to get younger, and we're not getting younger.
Right. Yeah. I think if they could get a guy like a Will Howard, McCord, man, I watched McCord at Ohio State, and I mean, just watch him in the Pitt game. He can fold under pressure pretty easily. I don't know. I mean, he can throw a nice ball when he has everything going right for him, but he also can go off the rails pretty hard. So I don't know. There,
worst fear, Riley.
yes. Oh, good Lord. I don't know what it is about him. He did not look good. Dylan Gabriel's another guy who's going to be really late. He might fall into the seventh round. I mean, I still am going back to Quinn Ewers. Like, if Quinn Ewers is going to be a fifth round pick in this draft, a guy who is the top recruit at a high school, has all the tools, played hurt this year, probably still has some development things, but like he would be the guy I would take a shot on. And I talked about him before last season. I continued to talk about him through this season, but I think like if Will Howard's seriously going to go above Quinn Ewers, I think the tools are there for Quinn at least to kind of mold. I'd be fine taking a shot on a Quinn Ewers in like the fifth round.
Yeah, if that's the quarterback in the fifth, I'm good.
Yeah, I've always liked Quinn Ewers. I mean, that wasn't just like a Ohio State recruited him type thing. That was just like because I know a lot of people think like all my stuff is like Ohio State related, but like Quinn can make throws from multiple different arm angles. He's got NFL, arm. He has trouble with pressure, which a lot of young quarterbacks do. But I mean, I think the fact that he played hurt for most of this season, had a couple of different injuries throughout the large chunk of the season. I think if everyone in this class, I would feel fine in the fifth round taking a flyer on a guy like that rather than a Jackson Dart in the first, second, or third round. Like, I mean, I'd feel better about Ewers because at least if you're throwing away a pick, it's a fifth round pick, not a second or first round pick.
I agree. I don't, and that's the thing. Like, if I'm going to blow a pick on a quarterback, I'd rather blow it on a late round one right now than a high one, because whatever you're looking for, especially if you're hearing all these things like, oh, we're trying to look for a quarterback in 26, then why buy the high now? Why take that first round quarterback, second round quarterback now if your whole goal is to find a quarterback in 26? Because you're hoping that you get lightning in a bottle this year. Because whatever quarterback you draft this year isn't going to be the guy that is the starter that's leading them over the hump for the playoff victory unless some weird stuff happens during the season.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if they take Dart, it's Mason's team. It's going to be the same thing like with Mitch. The only thing that Mason has in his favor is there won't be a lot of hometown fans chanting for the backup quarterback before week one.
I think this Jackson Dart hype is crazy. Like, people like honestly get pissed when I say negative things about him. Like, they get mad, like legit mad. And I'm not like trying to be a hater on the kid. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, and I don't think that the value is there to pick him. He is only in the first round because this class sucks. Like, I mean, that's the reality. And like, if he turns out to be a great quarterback 3 years down the road, then you guys can all, give me the crow to eat and I'll eat it gladly. But like, he still would not get us where we want to go right now.
Yep.
It's like, he's still not the right pick to me. So I don't know. I just don't see like,
he still won't get the support that Pickett got in that first season. Like, I'm sorry, I'll go back to how I think that the Steelers organization screwed it up. It should have been Mitch's team the whole season, but
yeah,
they caved so fast to give that to Mitch or to Kenny. Kenny didn't have a chance to learn everything. We had Matt Canada, who wasn't good. Because in my head, you let Mitch run the whole year. You fire Canada at the end of the season. You bring in an offensive coordinator that fits Kenny better, and you let him go at that part, you know? You let
Yep.
Mitch take that whole season, you take the lumps, and you see what he got. Instead, you know, before the second preseason game, everybody was already booing Mitch. So at least that
Yep.
won't happen if we draft Dart, but that doesn't change anything. It's still a first round pick that's going to sit for half the season unless Mason really, you know, all of a sudden goes nuclear and goes 0 for 6. Then they bring in Dart. But then at that point, what's the point anyways? Because now he's got to win 11 of the next, you know, 11 games.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I
But
just
Jalen
don't
Milrow,
get it.
does Jalen Milrow give you any intrigue? He's another guy. He's probably going to be more a third-round pick.
Same thing. I'll take him in the third. I'll take him in the fourth. I'd prefer not taking him in the third. But once again, it's just because of what we need. I think drafting him high like that is just weird right now. It like, doesn't help the team.
Yeah, I'm not a Milrow fan personally. I think he's a guy who he's a huge project to develop. I mean, athletically, he does a lot of things that are pretty special, but I just you're talking about really a developmental quarterback there. So Donovan Smith, that's the kid from Houston. I couldn't think of his name.
Is he the 6'6" guy?
Yeah, he's listed on here 6'5", 235.
That sounds about right.
Says he runs a 4.58 40 unofficially, so I don't know if that's realistic or not, but I need to watch him play. I've not watched his tape at all. So
yeah, I just read the little blurbs on him so far.
Yeah, so
But
I don't have an opinion.
him.
If they took a flyer on a guy in the 7th round, like if I still think you need to build this team up for 2026. Like I feel like we just need to accept the fact that as fans, you're probably not going to win a playoff game this year. Like if they want to go all in on Aaron Rodgers and that's the game plan, and you know you bring in a 1-year wide receiver to pair with Pickens and DK and just see what happens. Like, okay, but you still need to build out the rest of the roster for 2026. So the draft needs to be focused on the longevity of this team. I'm fine with free agency addressing some of the short-term stuff. I mean, that's fine as long as you hit in the draft, and that's going to be the big thing. We've had 2 pretty good drafts in a row now after having 5 really, really bad ones in a row. So I'm fine with building. We've had some pretty bad ones.
Well, I meant, have we had 2 good ones though? I know it looks like the last one was good. I still question the one before that a little bit, just because of injuries.
Yeah, I mean Jones. We'll see what Jones does at his natural left tackle. I've always thought Jones was going to be 3 years away from being a good player in this league. He was too raw coming out. Now that we've screwed around with him forever and put him on the wrong side instead of where he's actually supposed to be at, that's been a bit of an issue. But I think now moving him back to left tackle, we'll get a better look at what he should be and know whether or not that pick was good. But I think some of the other picks in that class were good picks as well. I mean, Darnell, he turned into a really good blocking tight end. Any receiving you get out of that guy is just cherry on top. You know what I'm saying? So, we've had Herbig. Herbig looks like an absolute steal now for a 4th-round pick. I mean, that dude was a 3rd-round pick. He was a steal.
Yeah.
So we've had some. I think we've had some 2 pretty good classes so far.
Yeah, just when your first 2 years ago, your 1st-round pick has looked up and down for 2 years. Your next one has been hurt. It's kind of like, okay, well, and then you lost a couple other people to injury for the 2nd draft, and your corners.
Yeah.
It's like let's give it some time before I make any concrete judgment on that. We can look back at 5 years and be like, some of those sucked. I still, I don't think I don't look back at the Najee Harris draft as bad as other people do, just simply because I think the draft was good. I think the players are good. I just think they weren't the right time for the team.
Najee wasn't. I mean, Najee's a good player. I think Najee's going to have a pretty good year in out west. So
if they would have taken him and then drafted Creed Humphrey, he would have looked a lot better.
Agreed.
So I thought that, and I will always die on that hill that Najee was not the wrong pick. The wrong pick was the second round pick. And yes, I agree. You build from the trenches, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I think as fans, we need to understand that we shouldn't be expecting a playoff win this year. But the way the team is being built, it's being built on the premise of a playoff win. I just don't see how they can sell that or buy into that theory when they haven't figured out the quarterback. This isn't like there's no Trent Dilfer out there that you can just put in there and be like, okay, I know he's just going to give me 180 yards, maybe a touchdown, and not do anything stupid, and we're going to win every game 10-0 thanks to our defense. The league isn't set up that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, if you had your choice right now, where would you go with this quarterback situation? Because we'll kind of wrap it up with that.
I'd sign Wilson and I'd sign Trey Lance. Simply because, like I said, Trey Lance is cheap. You let those 4 guys duke it out, knowing Wilson's going to probably start. Then you figure Mason will be the second. And then probably Trey will beat out whoever the other guy is that I can never remember.
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, I cannot remember his name for the life of me.
Yeah. I mean, the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think there's some – I still think there's some things that Aaron would bring to the team a little differently than what Russell Wilson did, namely if you're going to have a bad offensive line getting the ball out of your hand quick. So I understand them going after Aaron. I don't know that they're going to be in a huge hurry because at this point, like unless you're in a huge fear of losing Russ and Aaron Rodgers, like what's the team in a hurry for? Like if they kind of have a pulse on what Russ is going to do, then there's no reason to hurry just yet. So I probably start pushing that clock on Aaron a little bit because you don't want to be going into the draft with this being the issue. They want to be spending their time scouting, going to these pro days, trying to figure out what they're going to do, build their boards out. And the quicker that you have the quarterback situation resolved, I think the better the team's going to be to go into the draft prepared. So I think Aaron gives us the best chance to win this year, personally. So I'm okay with it bringing him in. I think it's going to be a sideshow, but I mean, I think it's going to give us plenty of content to talk about. I'll say that. We're not going to be short on content anytime. So,
and all I know is we can have a podcast right after the Pat McAfee show that he'll show up on, and where he'll bring out somebody who's like, "Hey, look who we're just trading for," before the team announces it, and we'll find out who he's fired. I mean, the team's fired. That Gridiron Heights one is awesome, where they do the skit with Aaron Rodgers, where he's like, "I'll find out who did this, even though I know who did this because I did this, but I'll find who's responsible and I'll make sure they pay."
Right.
I don't. Everybody complains about the drama on this team. Everybody, we're so happy to get rid of Deontay Johnson. It's too much drama.
Right.
Pickens, he's too much drama. Okay, but now everybody's like, we should get Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron's going to be the drama.
Have you not seen him in his league ever?
Right.
I mean, his family doesn't talk to him. Like, he is the polar opposite of Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens. There's a little bit more time left, I think, before we actually get a decision. But hopefully this thing resolves sooner rather than later.
I got a question, though. What do you think happens first? Aaron Rodgers signs with the team, or Cordero Patterson actually gets removed from the roster?
I still don't think Cordero Patterson's going to be on the team next year. He's going to get released at some point. Maybe the whole birthday post. Maybe that's going to be the thing that gets him cut. I mean, I'm going to go with Cordero Patterson because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to take his sweet old time on this thing. But
okay.
Yeah,
I think Rodgers signs a deal before Patterson gets cut. That's my over and under right there.
Okay, all right. We'll have to see who comes out right on this one, but this could go either way. So, but anything else you wanted to go over before we wrap up?
No, I just wanted to make my usual pitch for Arthur Smith's guy.
Oh, good. I'm surprised we didn't bring in Matt Collins. I mean, Matt Collins seems like he'd have been the perfect fit. Like, we should have brought Matt Collins into the offense for Arthur Smith.
Right?
So
there's got to be somebody still out there that has played for Arthur Smith.
yes, maybe Ben Skoranek took over Matt Collins' spot. I don't know. He's got a warm place in the Arthur Smith's heart.
I do love my favorite signing of the offseason outside of the DK trade.
Ben Skoranek. I love Ben Skoranek, man. I thought it was a great signing. So surprised it wasn't done sooner, to be honest with you.
I love it. I love seeing that a guy that busts his butt like he does get paid.
Yeah, me too. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on here and going over some quarterback talk with me today. We'll have to get back on here again sometime later this week.
Sorry for coughing in your ear. Have a great night.
That's all right. All right, everybody, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Come watch the next episode where Lowry decides to cough all over the screen instead of just coughing into his arm.
Well done.
All right, I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.